When you look at how the pie is split, it's very telling. There's people in the military who have to follow certain rules, and that includes rules for dating. There's people in the CIA and in the government and the various law enforcement agencies. They follow certain rules. Who fraternizes with who and why? And fraternities are very concerned with that. So when we see these psychological operations, immediately the main people who have the means, motive, and ability to do it and to stop it are these fraternities and these social clubs and these corporate groups that run the state, right through the government. And just like with the CIA, they have assets with criminal organizations, and they split the pie, which includes the females. People who don't know these things, okay, maybe are just a little slow. But people who deny these things when they're pointed out are delusional. There is no other way to look at it. There is no other way. You see, when conservatives and their allies say things like our values, they mean white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy. Also, by arguing that people must respect and promote Western civilization, they are arguing for white and Jewish and LGBT supremacy. And they're doing so while blurring the line between being free to live and promote one's culture and what they believe is ideal, and being a slave to the cowardly and psychotic existing social order. So in other words, if you come to America, you don't have to wear a t-shirt and jeans, you don't have to wear a suit. Okay, that's not what the Constitution is saying. That's not what the population at large is saying historically. But there's a bunch of conservatives, right, which include conservative Democrats who like to keep things a certain way, and they want you to come in to their cultures. Say if you came here to Southfield, they have certain cultures. You went to San Jose or New York, they have certain cultures in different regions, and they want you to assimilate into their social orders and to train your attractive females to date the scoundrels, the utter low-stock filth that are promoted by the general population by their complicity. They're promoted by the corporations and social clubs. These are scoundrels. These are propaganda dogs that God hates with all of his being, because that's evil. It is evil to coerce the population, to terrorize the population, to try to get them to do the wrong thing. To say things like God is going to cook their souls for doing it is not evil. It's a fact. And if you didn't believe that that's the case, why would you think that that's the wrong thing to do? Because the argument being made is they're doing these horrible things that everyone knows creates all kinds of mass rape, murder, suicide, drugging, what have you, and that there's going to be consequences because justice as a spirit, as principles, comes from somewhere, right? It comes from somewhere. So does righteousness. We see all throughout nature that animals have the desire to get revenge. Why is that? Because the idea exists in the first place. The possibility exists in the first place. Why is that? Because there's a God. That is the overwhelmingly logical assumption. And when we look at the types of people who don't believe that, there's a reason why I could beat them at sparring, which reflects brain function, among other things, in no time flat, because my brain functions more effectively than theirs naturally, and that's part of why they're fuming and poison me. Because that's what it kind of all boils down to. Who has more wisdom and insight and sense than who? And that has to do with who you should follow. Okay. So again, I'm not bragging. God Almighty made me this way. I'm here to serve God. I'm here to walk in the light and make it clear that I serve God. I'm under 24-hour surveillance already. But if people were to give me my rightful place, I'm willing to be on live stream, on camera, for the world to see me living humbly all the time, except for, in the shower, what have you. And that is far more than fair. Someone who has proven righteousness to the degree I have, it's really unnecessary. But to assure you all that there's a huge difference between me and everyone else, and that it's an extreme difference. And there's a reason why God made it so I established the throne in righteousness, the throne of who is the actual true leader of humanity, the shunned and righteous persecuted leader. So, again, the whole world is in rebellion. I don't consider myself to be anti-Semitic, but I am anti-satanic. Whether it's Jew or Gentile, I despise Satanists. And if people are trying to hide behind political correctness and stuff, I don't appreciate it. Would you? If you're trying to do the right thing, would you want people to lie about things? You want people to make it harder for you to get the message out? You see, my religion is love, and love must be derived from justice. It must be derived from righteousness and justice. That is how the throne is established. See, God is love, and we see in Psalm 89 that the throne is established in righteousness and justice. Love isn't something that you just feel and say, hey, and just do whatever people want or something. Love is something that only exists in its true form when it comes from righteousness and justice, when it comes from God, not when it comes from blind faith or meaningless, quote-unquote, forgiveness. If your brother sins, rebuke him. If he repents, forgive him. If they try to tell you you're supposed to forgive him no matter what and assimilate into Satan's Babylonian system, be it in America or Iran or Israel, immediately, they are trying to get you to do the devil's work. Should be immediately clear to you, is what I mean to say, that they're trying to get you to do the devil's work. I'm not. My religion is universal, pinpoint, and moral precision. Why? Because Christianity is a vague term. It confuses you about what I believe. I don't believe in going to church like some blind lemming. I don't believe in contrast games where some people say, well, at least they're not Joel Osteen, so magically they're right. No, I believe in scrambling to be precisely right, because the more you're wrong, the more people suffer. Therefore, the only way to serve God is to scramble to be precisely right in the divine order, because you can't cheat me out of my right to lead and still serve God. A house divided cannot stand. God is not the author of disorder, but at peace with God. So yesterday, I was very provoked, and I made some very angry videos last night because I was very provoked. But I'm probably not going to release those videos, but if I did, it wouldn't mean that I'm a bad guy or this, that, and the other thing. It would mean that I'm scrambling to do God's work, and they're persecuting me. And we see that recently in the news it came out that some guy did some shooting, was being persecuted in an organized manner by groups they were referring to as handlers. And gang stalking, the organized psyops from the state, they call it gang stalking. They refer to people who are key members of the perpetrators, who are key perpetrators, as handlers. And there you see the news apparatus and the government referring to the people who were provoking that person in an organized manner as handlers. And I've been arguing for years and years that they're provoking me in an organized manner with military-grade psychology. Thank you.